Denny Hamlin is one of the most polarizing NASCAR drivers of this generation. He's flashy, he runs his mouth, but he's also wildly successful. Sitting at 60 race wins, including crown jewels such as 3 Daytona 500s, a Southern 500, a Coke 600 win, he's basically done it all except for one thing, and you already know what it is: a championship. He's the most winningest driver in the Cup Series history to have not won a title, and what is already a bit of a saddening stat gets even more heartbreaking the more we look into it, and that's what we're going to do today. Denny Hamlin, he came full-time into the NASCAR Cup Series back in 2006. In that year, he won 2 races, both of the Pocono races actually, and of course won Rookie of the Year. On top of that, with the chase format, he actually finished 3rd in the standings that season. When a rookie finishes that high, I mean, I immediately go to thinking like that guy is going to be like winning several championships in his career. Obviously, it hasn't quite gone in the fashion we expected. Hamlin went through a few quiet years to follow through with 2007, 2008, where he only won 1 race per each of those seasons and not really being a threat for the championship. But in 2009, the future Denny Hamlin kind of stepped up that we all know now, and that was a driver that was capable of winning several races in a season. He won 4 races that year and had a respectable 5th place championship finish. He had proven now that he could win enough races in a season to compete for a championship and with the best drivers in the sport. 2010 comes along and Denny finds himself finally in his first championship fight against the guy who had won the previous 4, and that's Jimmie Johnson. Everyone, including myself, I'm sure, would have been very tired of this if I actually had to experience it, which fortunately I didn't, but everyone had grown tired of Jimmie Johnson winning at this point. The dominance of that 48 team was insane when the chase would kind of kick off, so the idea of anybody beating Jimmy was, something people were in support of. Denny was chosen to be that guy in 2010, and his first true head-to-head fight for a championship, well, it was going to be against one of the most dominant teams that we have ever seen in any era of the sport as we know. And Johnson and Hamlin, they would both spend the entirety of this 10-race chase going back and forth between who was in control of the championship. But going into the final couple of races, Denny Hamlin, with 2 races left, had taken the championship lead. But when it came down to those final 2 races, when the pressure was at an all-time high for Hamlin, unfortunately, he just wasn't ready.
And the worst news from Mike Ford a moment ago, he told his driver, Denny Hamlin, we are 12 laps short on fuel. We cannot make it. The championship stop for this crew. Counting the fuel in now. Right side tires going on. Can of fuel in.
Frustrated. He drove the wheels off all day, led 190 laps, and because he needed that last stop, finishes in 12th.
Oh, trouble, and it involves Hamlin. The championship points leader goes around, and can he save it? Caution is out. The championship is going to go to Jimmie Johnson, and if you don't think he's going to be one of the greatest, think again.
You're looking at the 5-time champion.
You're looking at him.
A fuel fumble for the 11 team in Phoenix brought them down from beating the 48 to losing out to Jimmie Johnson, and then watching the title slip away after a choke in Miami, of course, with a crash, and the day just went absolutely horrific for Hamlin, allowing Jimmie Johnson to claim his 5th consecutive title. Denny won 8 races that season, which is still a career high to this day, and it's, wild to think that many wins and he just didn't quite pull off a championship. I think we all knew, however, this was probably not going to be the final time that Denny Hamlin was going to be fighting for a championship, but we have to fast forward to 2014 after a few up and down seasons from 2011 to 12 and 13, including a major back injury in 2013. Hamlin had found himself actually back in the mix, fighting for a championship again. This was the first year of NASCAR's new playoff elimination format. It was still called The Chase at the time, but Denny was one of the 4 drivers that had advanced into this winner-take-all finale. With Jeff Gordon being eliminated the week before, it kind of made it anybody's game going into this race, and I would say Jeff Gordon was robbed of making the Final 4, but that's just personal opinion. He still had to beat, however, Kevin Harvick, and Kevin Harvick was just as strong as Jeff Gordon was in 2014. And throughout this race in Miami, of course, Denny and Kevin actually were the two best cars pretty well all race long, as Joey Logano and Ryan Newman didn't quite have enough to kind of compete with those two drivers, and they swapped the lead back and forth for this championship, I mean, throughout the race. But in the final 100 laps, Denny had taken control, and it looked like the championship was going to go his way in just his second fight for a championship. However, Kevin Harvick actually got the championship lead from Denny Hamlin on a late race restart and seemingly took control until another caution would come out, and this is where the beginning of the end starts for Denny in this race, and kind of a trend that would start throughout the future. And as all the final four drivers would pit, his crew chief calls Denny to stay on the racetrack. And long story short, after another caution and another restart, well, Denny would have Kevin Harvick and Ryan Newman both right behind him on fresher tires, and making it impossible for Denny to defend a championship. A terrible pit call that saw his second shot at a title turn into nothing but frustration for the second time now. So he's now 0 for 2. He's still young at this time, but he's going to surely win a championship at some point, right?
Championship effort. We wasn't for lack of trying. I thought we had a better car than those guys. Just I had a bad restart and lost position to the four, and Darian made the decision to leave us out there on tires, trying to do something to get that track position back that I lost on that restart, and just didn't work out for us with all those cautions. It just allowed all those guys to close back up, and it was kind of all she wrote for us.
Although it's much harder now to win a championship with the playoff format, of course, with a one race winner take all, if you keep making it to the final four, like, surely one of those races is going to go your way, right? Maybe not in the case of Denny Hamlin. Denny had to wait 5 years after 2014 to actually have his third shot at a Cup Series title, but this time it was a bit of a unique one for Denny. As he was entering his prime, he would make the Final Four 3 straight years: 2019, 2020, and 2021. And let's go over all 3 of these because they're quite unique and quite different. In 2019, he was actually going up against an incredibly stacked Final Four. You had Kevin Harvick, you had Kyle Busch, you had Martin Truex Jr., and simply put, Denny never really had a car capable of winning this race. He wasn't even a remote threat until the final stage came along, and actually after working on that 11 team all day long, they found themselves in a position to fight for the championship with Kyle Busch. And on the last stop of the night, Hamlin had kind of slipped back at this point, but he was still, close enough to be in contention, which wasn't the case throughout the earlier part of the race. Well, unfortunately, they made one of the calls of all time, and he came off of the pit lane with that massive piece of tape on the car. What is that piece of tape doing there? That was strategy, by the way. That tape was meant to go on the car, on the grill. Well, unfortunately, it was covering like half the grill, and well, as you can imagine, the car overheated very fast, and, well, quite simply put, race over for Denny Hamlin. He had to pit very shortly thereafter, as you could see the water just, going out of the car there. And unfortunately, that race actually went green to the end. So as soon as Hamlin had to pit, it was game over. Kyle Busch would go on to win this championship. So just like that, Hamlin, just as fast as he thought he might have been back in it, it was over just as quickly. And now he's 0 for 3. Now we fast forward to 2020. Hamlin's in the Final Four again, but a new track hosts the Final Four. It's Phoenix Raceway, which Hamlin had actually won this race in 2019, the year before, to get into the Final Four. Denny was up against Joey Logano, Chase Elliott, and Brad Keselowski in what was a really calm race this year. Denny had a great day, actually, finishing in 4th. Nothing really went wrong, but the problem was his competitors finished 3rd, 2nd, and 1st. A 4th place finish wasn't enough to win the championship, and Chase Elliott wins it in his first Final Four appearance, while now Denny has gone 0 for 3. In this format, you pretty well have to win the championship race to win the championship, and Denny just hasn't quite been able to do that. And at this point, as a fan, I've always been a fan of Denny Hamlin. I had started to shift my tone from, yeah, he's going to win a championship soon enough, to now I'm like, well, oh my God, he's running out of time, he's getting older, and I just don't know if he's actually going to be able to do it. He's very capable, but things just weren't working out. And I was just really hopeful that 2021 maybe was going to be the answer, and he actually ended up going against another one of my favorite drivers that year, of Kyle Larson. We fast forward into that 2021 Final Four race, his third consecutive year. Surely 3 consecutive years, your 4th time in this championship 4 as well. Surely he has to win it, right? Well, maybe not quite. Chase Elliott, Kyle Larson, Martin Truex Jr. he's going up against in this race. Kyle Larson had an incredible season, 9 wins, and he had been robbed of several others already, but Denny just didn't seem to have the speed again that you need to win the race. They were going to have to work on the car, similar to 2019. Hamlin's strength in this race, though, was the long run speed, and by the final stage, they had gotten the car overall more competitive, and as the final stage was going long, Hamlin had actually started to go forward, passing Kyle Larson, and eventually, with a restart with under 60 laps to go, he was now in the front row with his teammate of Martin Truex Jr., who were both now fighting for this championship. And with just over 30 laps to go at this point, Denny is about a second back from the 19 car, and the gap was just starting to close until a caution comes out by the time Denny had brought the gap down by about a few tenths of a second, and now Hamlin is forced into the weakness of the 11 car on that day, the short run. Everybody comes into the pits. Denny actually has an incredible pit stop and was going to be leading until the 5 car has the best pit stop of the entire Generation 6 era.
They have been the best throughout the playoffs. Let's see if they can deliver here. And they do. They get Kyle Larson lead on a close drag race. Gained 3 spots for Larson there. Incredible.
Denny would fall off on the short run in what would become the final restart of the day, and by the time his car actually started coming to him, kicking in on the long run, unfortunately it was too late at that point, and Kyle Larson would hold off Martin Truex Jr. to win the 2021 Cup Series championship, and Hamlin would end up third, now going 0 for 4 at this point with this championship 4, of course, configuration that we were now running. I thought it was over after this point. I said there's no way Denny Hamlin is going to win a championship, winning so many races in 3 straight years. You've now made the championship 4, you've played the format right, but you just can't execute in that final race, and I imagine that had to be absolutely excruciating for him. Denny nearly made the Final Four again in 2022 to follow 2021 in the 3 consecutive years, but Ross Chastain did that thing there and rolled the wall at Martinsville and actually knocked Denny out of the championship 4, and things just didn't quite work out in the playoffs in 2023 or 2024 for the 11 team. But during the last few years, we really started to see Denny lean into whatever it takes to be successful, and in 2025 things seem to be back on track to make that happen, and Denny's now in his mid-40s entering the 2025 season, while the large majority of drivers fall off well before the age that Denny Hamlin is already at. He is a rare exception, and he won 6 races in 2025, the most of anybody, including his 60th overall win, which is a huge milestone for any driver to hit. It looked like he was back at the top of his game in his mid-40s. I couldn't believe it, and he was showing that he was willing to do whatever it took to win this year, especially when they made it into the playoffs.
Here we go. Yep. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, boy. Yes, sir. Gibbs goes around.
Some cheers, some boos.
Here comes Hamlin. Driving that car with no power steering. Bubba's in the wall. He's fighting his butts for this win.
Y'all can boo me, but you can either get on the bandwagon or you can get run over by it.
You still love the boos?
Bring them all.
Denny's 60th win advanced him into the Final Four, And I think we all knew going in, this could very well be the last shot he has to win, considering his age, and get that first Cup Series championship. But there's so much more emotion attached to this specific season. First of all, Denny's now been trying for 20 years to win this championship, and the haters always make sure he knows that he hasn't won yet. 2010, 2014, as well as 2019, 2020, and 2021. He's 0 for 5 in championship fights. Is now his 6th opportunity to win a NASCAR Cup Series championship. He had been very public as well about the declining health of his father, mentioning that he knew this was going to be the last opportunity for him to win a championship for his father, and of course his family, who had sacrificed anything for, or everything for him to even allow this NASCAR dream to come within fruition. So the emotions, they were super high. It felt like all these years of his career had come into like this big ball of emotion, and one single race rides on all of this, and something just felt so different about today.
It's hard to hear it. Man, I'm trying my best.
Denny was locked in this race. He had even learned an entirely new driving style for Phoenix because he had been aware of what he had done in the past at Phoenix hadn't been working. Something had to change, and whatever he did, it worked. For a driver of his age and his experience to change your driving style just for one track, that is a massive amount of determination, and I can't even imagine trying to do that myself, but it worked. Throughout a caution-filled race, outside of losing the lead to William Byron in stage 1, Denny had gotten the lead back. He had dominated this entire race. It didn't matter if it was a short run, didn't matter if it was a long run. That 11 car was unbeatable. It didn't matter to me. I said, no matter what, like, something's gonna go wrong here. There's a caution that's gonna come out at a bad time, or there was tire issues as well. I thought maybe a tire was going to go down on the 11 at like the worst time possible, but things were going well, and we fast forward to late in the race. Off of a restart, a 4-wide move with all the final 4 drivers racing each other, a little switchback move on the 24 of William Byron to pass him for the lead, and Denny Hamlin was in full control with under 30 laps to go in this race. He had done everything right today. The 11 team had done everything right all day long, and that is something they hadn't done ever in the history of Denny Hamlin fighting for a championship. Today was the day. Leading by 3 seconds with 4 laps to go, everything everybody feared had finally hit.
Kim.
Easy. Okay.
Oh boy, William Byron has a tire issue and the caution is out.
I wasn't surprised, but I couldn't believe it at the same time. The task was so easy. All Denny had to do now was beat the 5 and beat the 19, who also were on older tires than the 11, and it almost felt impossible for them to screw this up, but they did.
Car brought him down pit road. It's going to be 4 fresh tires. To Steve's point, this is what won the Truck Series championship Friday night. But Hamlin is going to lose a ton of track position here.
I could not believe this. Larson on 2 tires now. Starts 2 rows in front of the 11, who took 4 tires, but anybody with common sense knew that the next gen was so difficult to pass in dirty air, especially at a track like Phoenix, and I knew it was already over. Denny got alongside Larson on an overtime restart into turn 1, but Larson had the enormous advantage of a teammate of Alex Bowman in front of him, allowing Larson to rip around the top and make a lot of ground up, while Denny Hamlin had roadblock Joey Logano directly in the way to deal with, and that stunted all the progress. Now, this isn't a criticism. It's not a criticism, but I was surprised with how many drivers had taken 2 tires or stayed out and got directly involved in the championship battle in the final 2 laps, especially with Joey Logano and Ryan Blaney, who have been in championship positions before, and both took problem when drivers were racing them hard that weren't in the final 4. I found that pretty ironic that we had that many cars stay out and decide to get directly involved in the championship battle. That's a whole side note there. It's not a criticism, it's just something that I kind of noticed. But Denny, all he could do in the final 2 laps at that point was watch Kyle Larson, who was not a threat basically all day long, walk away in those final 2 laps and steal the championship away from Denny Hamlin, who had dominated the entire day and now goes 0 for 6 in his most crushing loss of his entire career.
Denny Hamlin on the right was so close.
Good job, man.
Cliff Daniels and his driver Kyle Larson celebrate.
Just didn't work out. You know, I was just praying that no caution, and you know, had one there, and what can you do? It's just not meant to be. But you know, man, if you can't win that one, I don't know which one you can win.
I remember standing there at just like a loss for words, watching Kyle Larson, who I'm also a big fan of, celebrate the championship, and Denny Hamlin, you could tell, just an emotional defeat in his car after the race. I had felt robbed. Now, why did I feel robbed? I really can't explain why. Kyle Larson, well, he was the right champion. He won the championship in like any format, the chase format, the full season format. He was the deserving champion. But when we talk about, well, he would have won it in this format, he would have won it in that format, that doesn't matter, because that's not the format that we're in. It's the format that we're in that we are right now worried about. And Denny Hamlin had done everything the format had asked of him, and still at that point things just didn't work out, and it was absolutely heartbreaking. There was some mentions of, well, why did we take 4 tires? Why did the 11 team take 4 tires? And some mentioned about the truck race the following couple of days on Friday evening, when Corey Heim won the championship by taking 4 tires and passing like 7 trucks on a restart in turn 1. Well, guess what? This is that's a truck. Yeah, this is not a truck. This is a next-gen car, which is not even close to being as capable as a truck in traffic, and I thought that was just an absolutely outrageous comparison, because that in no world was the next-gen car going to be capable of, no matter who you put in that car, of what Corey Heim did in the truck on Friday night. Over the offseason, unfortunately, Denny Hamlin's father, Dennis Hamlin, did pass away in a tragic house fire, and I can't even imagine the just emotional toll this has taken on Denny over the last few months and how everything has ended. And all I can do is hope that in somehow and in some way that he leaves 2026 as a NASCAR Cup Series champion, and in honor of his father and his family and the rest of his fans, and finally puts 20 years of heartbreak to an end.
Obviously, want to say hi to my dad, family, back at home. You can either get on the bandwagon or you can get run over by it.
You still love the booze?
Bring them. It's hard to hear it.
Denny Hamlin on the right was so close.
Man, if you can't win that one, I don't know which one you can win.